Monsieur David.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good to see you. So, we're gonna talk about you.
Okay, whatever it is you're doing, you're the boss, and I'm just here to participate.
Oh my God, I'm honored to have you. How do you pronounce your last name?
Gussin, G-U, Gussin.
Gussin, okay. Gussin, because I'm French, I will pronounce it Gussin. But
So did my second grade teacher, Mrs. Rosen. She was calling all the kids' names on the first day of school, and she called me Gussin.
So I'm gonna present you with music, okay?
Yeah, buddy, I love it.
Hi everyone. So I'm gonna introduce today somebody very special, very wise, and we're gonna share some insights with Mr. David Gussin from New York. Hello, David. How are you doing?
Hello, Gabriel. I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so honored, so happy that you said yes. And we're gonna share more insights, more love, more like good vibes. And we already, connected on the same frequency. So tell me more about you. You are entrepreneur, you are a networker, you are more than that, and you write also. You're gonna tell me more about the 516.
I'll answer any questions you have. But you know what? This is my first interview in a while, in some time. So if you ask me who I am, and if this is going out to the world, I just want to say that I'm a loving person.
Yeah.
I'm a loving person that has love for the world. I know there are a lot of loving people out there, and we need to be heard more in a world where so I don't want to use the word hate, but so much opposite of love is going on. So
We can see it, some fear, let's go,
I hope to be
boom.
a loving person.
Exactly. And this is what I felt, that, and you mentioned something that the good exists doesn't mean if it's not like loud or like, but the good exists.
Oh no, the good definitely exists. There's a lot more good than bad. What I think you're referring to, as I said, in comparison to hatred, goodness is fragmented. And that's true. Hatred comes to us on a purposeful level. I can only speak about what I see here in America, but it wouldn't surprise me if around the world, newspapers, media, they lead with negativity. They lead with negative stories. They lead with bad stuff going on. Yet good stuff is going on all the time, whether it's a mom cleaning off a kid's knee after they fall, whether it's someone giving encouragement to a child. There's good going on all the time. But in comparison to negativity and hate, it's fragmented.
And when you say fragmented, means like it's kind of dissociated?
No, it's well, I don't. I shouldn't say no. I'm not sure what you mean by disassociated, but media negativity comes to us every day. We're bombarded with it. We're bombarded with it in newspaper headlines. We're bombarded with it on news shows. We're bombarded with it on leading stories in social media. So it's coming to us in a concentrated effort, and it's all coming across as negative. Yet so much positive exists, but a lot of that positiveness is invisible to the eye of the public. It does not get written about. Good things don't make headlines. I got to tell you, if 5 people show up to a march, it will be all over the place. Yet in stadiums all around the world, tens of thousands of people get together in joyous moments, whether it's rooting for a concert or rooting for a sports team, and black people and white people and people of all colors are next to each other in the stands, beautifully working together. But it doesn't get reported like that. It doesn't even get reported at all. So if 2 people fight, it might make the headlines. If hundreds of thousands of people come together in love, it very well might go not even written about. So
Yeah, nobody talked about it. Yeah, I understand. And it's good that you mentioned that. I mean, um, because you know news are bad news actually. And when people, so as a master hypnotherapist and music therapist, I can tell that whatever we hear, we it's printed in our DNA, whatever we hear and whatever we see, like, and we talked about that. I'm a Civil War survivor and I saw the Civil War, so it's part of me. But I make it in a way that I disconnected from my past, or I digested, and through music actually it was very helpful to remove this fear. But for, like, let's say normal people or people not into therapy or like speaker or like coaching or whatever, they are a little bit living their daily life and eating this fear, eating this, like, as you mentioned, bombarded by all these informations, and they are taking them as they are without like filtering them. So this is very good what you mentioned, because some people will, like, "Ah, maybe there's some good around and I can invest on that good."
Uh, I know there's a lot of good. People do tend to have resiliency. Uh, uh, it's. I was when we were talking the other day. I said I'm disappointed in musicians this year. That hasn't been any good love songs. But the America,
I'm preparing stuff.
yeah, America and the world has to get their confidence back. Right now, the world is lacking confidence. They have a right to lack confidence. It's hard to have confidence when people are unsure. But people, I look forward to people and society getting more sure of themselves, starting to get confidence back, and working in unison towards betterment. I have a dear friend of mine, and up until this year, he would always say, "Don't believe so much what you read in the papers," he would say. "The world is much better than it's ever been," he would say. Starvation is less. People are kinder to each other. Atrocities aren't taking places as much. So while all those things are possible, they're happening less than they've ever happened at all. I can't tell you how the world views America. I could only come from my end. I hope some people love America. I'm sure there are people who are upset with America. But right now, America is a polarized place where there's a distrust in society. And it's a very interesting thing. When people lose, people are okay with losing. Some of the greatest athletes and champions have come from when they've lost. They've lost and they practiced and they got better. So people think people have a problem with losing. That's actually not true. There are a lot of people, they don't like to lose, but sometimes you lose and you get better from it. But if you feel cheated, you don't want to play. And that's what's going on now. It's okay to lose. I've lost my whole life. I wasn't a good athlete. I lost all the time. I come back and I play again. But once again, I repeat, if you feel cheated, you don't want to play. And right now in America, half the country feels cheated. And whether they're right or wrong, they feel that way. And we're still at a time where it can't be discussed, and it can't be discussed probably for a variety of issues. But currently, it's not being discussed. And if America is and once again, I'm only speaking on your show. I think of you as a man of international, that you reach an international audience. But I can only once again speak for America. America needs an intervention, and it might take some time before that intervention takes place. But if an intervention ever does take place, if it was for a drug addict or something, people come into a room with loved ones and they discuss their feelings, the good and the bad, and they put it out in the open. Currently, we're not in a state where that could be accomplished. I look forward to that being accomplished one day.
Hmm. So can you tell me more about you through this year, the 2020? I know that a lot of people, they went through ups and downs, and you as a man, David, I know um, you are a positive man on planet Earth, and through your like your community and all your projects, you inject positive vibes. And I mean, this is like something very common that we have. But tell me more about you. Tell me more about how did you surfed on those waves,
Well, I guess perseverance is a good word. And once again, I don't speak for me. I speak for myself and others. I try to be a we person. I certainly want to be a we person. So I'm not big on saying I,
You
but
told me that,
perseverance,
yeah.
resiliency, having empathy for others.
Mm.
While I might be struggling, others are struggling worse. I know me personally, I try to look at things from an overall view. Like if I'm looking down at society, I didn't want to be a judge. I'd like to be thought of as a judge, but not because it's a big title or anything. Because if somebody's a respected judge, that means they're fair. And I like to be a person that's fair. I like to be able to see all sides of an issue. Notice I didn't say both sides of an issue because there might even be more than two sides. People could see the same exact thing and look at it differently,
From a
and
different
neither
point
of
of
them
view.
are wrong. There's a very cute cartoon where somebody's looking at the number 6.
Yeah.
If someone's looking at it from this side, they say it's the number 6. If someone's looking at it from the other side, they say it's the number 9. They're both right. They're
Yeah.
both looking at the same thing. So I try to see something from an overall view, but I do like to be fair. So resilient. You asked me how resiliency. I have my health. One thing I've learned: if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. If you think you have money problems, if you think you have relationship problems, if you think you have any of those things, if those are things that hit people, money problems, losing your job, corona. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So
I agree with you.
thank God I actually stopped smoking this year. If anything good happened this year, I actually
Congratulations.
I never gave a thought to my health ever. I'm 56 years old, never gave health a thought. This year, more than ever, for no other, I want to live. So I stopped smoking. I started eating better. I started drinking more water. I just started taking more control of my health. And I never did that before in my life.
Can you tell me more about all the achievement that you did? I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but I mentioned it in my interview. The Tell me more
Well, if you're
about
asking me
about
about
you.
if you're asking me about myself, I won't even mention the cute thing. I've created some things that are widely popular. But if you're asking me about myself and I'm being interviewed, uh, I just want to mention learn. Let's end all racism now. If I'm going to be given a platform to be heard, then in my mind, the most important thing I've ever created, besides my beautiful daughters, is learn. Let's end all racism now. I was watching a talk show and they had KKK members on and they were making audience members cry. And by the way, this was 30 plus years ago, way before Corona, way before racism's hitting the news in this cycle. And deservingly so. Racism's been around forever, in some ways always will. But these audience members were making people cry. And I was like, these people are idiots, learn. And I imagine millions of loving people who think like I do, screaming, learn, at these people like, learn, what's the matter with you? Learn. And then I thought there has to be something that anyone could say, that if you're really against racism, you'd have no problem saying it. And I thought for a while, it hit me, learn, let's end all racism now. I made it red, white, and blue because if you think about it, and while it hasn't always been true, America's ideology is about ending racism. America, I was taught, is the country where people from all over the world come to make a better life for themselves. So even though racism has existed, and the actions of racism have caused division to America in America to this very day, its beautiful ideology of freedom, liberty, and justice for all is an ideology that should always be aspired to. It's always a generation away from not existing, and it could always be a new generation of flourishing. So, and then I made it, and then I had the word racism go into a broken heart. Because to me, if you ask a million people what racism is, you'll get a million different opinions. But to me, it causes the feeling of a broken heart hovering over society. And while I wouldn't attempt to change the mind of an adult, I wouldn't waste my time, and I don't have a right to, I certainly would want to inspire children with an opposite to racism. So the experts have often said the way to handle this or the way to handle that is through education. So we've taken the most powerful word in education, learn, and we attached ending racism to it, and hopefully ending broken hearts to it. You asked me, sir, so I told you. When I talk, I sometimes sound maybe like a preacher or a minister, and I don't mean to. I'm just a fellow citizen, and you asked me my opinion, so I'm giving it to you.
I love it. I'm playing guitar with you, you know? I love it. And you know, so when you mention learning means ignorance cause violence. And when we learn, we understand and we stretch our mind to find a common land with the other person. Right? Correct
It
me if
all
I'm wrong.
starts with it all starts with children. The greatest gift in the world any human being can have is feeling loved,
Mm.
is feeling loved. And it's not about being loved, because one might be loved, but one might be loved, but they may not feel love.
Wow.
In fact, I know everybody's loved, because there are some people who just love everybody. I'm not claiming to be that, but there are people that just love, they love strangers. They could love someone that they've never even met. And the second, but it doesn't matter that people are loving. It matters that someone feels love. And if you feel love, you could take on the world and you can accomplish anything.
And you
If
are
we give
not.
it an analogy of somebody that what's that thing called when you I'm having a brain freeze, but if someone feels they're heavy, anorexic. If someone thinks they're heavy, they could be anorexic, they could weigh 87 pounds, but if they think they're heavy and overweight, you can't convince them otherwise, and obviously they're not. So it's what goes on in someone's mind. But I know for me, the greatest gift that I ever have, going back to my grandparents and going back to my parents, is that I'm loved. And the whole world could disagree with me on anything, but I'm loved. And when you feel loved, you can accomplish anything. And if you don't feel loved, you're always searching for it. You can
Wow.
never be satisfied. And some people can't be loved enough. They can't be given enough praise. They can't. They have an insatiable desire. You can't love them enough. But we're going a bit beyond. But
I
the gift of
understand.
being loved is the greatest gift in the world.
You know, David, the way that I explain to my client is like fear is very low vibration and love very high vibration. And you have people, they get like this anger or this kind of stress or like, you know, feeling this, how can I say, so they're not happy in their life. So they are glued, completely glued to that fear. And by learning how maybe to love themselves, and it's not selfish to love yourself. I mean, for me, in my opinion, loving yourself is accepting yourself, accepting what, like, it's kind of gratitude. Like I have two arms, two eyes, two ears, so I can start loving other people. If I don't love myself, I cannot love other people. What do you think?
totally understand the thought process and agree. Everyone has their own different words of how they make things work for them. And of course, what I said about love, I believe to be true. Hold on, I'm just lowering my phone for a second. It rang. I didn't shut it
Okay.
off. But this I want to throw this in with love, because once again, everyone around the world has love. A parent loves their child, and I'm just leading to a point. A parent loves a child, so they often say, like, what do you need? Or a teacher to a student, what do you need? Or any caring person to another person, what do you need? In addition to love, people need to be needed. People need to know that they matter. So more than anything someone needs, I need a new car, I need a house, I need this, I need that. People need to be needed. And it's funny because in school, there's a break. I don't know about in other parts of the world, but there's often been said that there's a break between elementary school and junior high school. And the break comes, I guess, in elementary school, the teachers are catering more to the kids. They're in the class all the time, catering to them, right on top of them. But when they get to junior high school, they get a bit more freedom, and they're not watched as much. If it was up to me, I would create a program where older can supervised when necessary, and in many cases, maybe a bit always necessary. I would create a standard program where older kids are working with younger kids. Because even if you got the worst kid around, there's always exceptions, there's always extremes. But to the 99.999% who fall into the thing of regular, normal, even the worst kid, you know when you're going to get the best out of them? When they're helping a younger kid, if they feel the responsibility for helping. So everyone needs to be needed. And in another term, which even might sound, people might hear it better in their mind, people need to know that they matter. When you don't feel that you matter, what matters? But in this world, people from everyone needs to know that they matter. I actually wrote a quote many years ago, and it's a simple one. Until love becomes more important than money, nothing will change in this world.
Wow.
And there's a good chance that that might never change. It might just be a nice thought, and that money and power and just that will always rule. But until love becomes more important than money, nothing will change. And
Wow.
it always starts with the children. This world is always one generation away from turning things around for the better or turning things around for the worse. And it all starts with children. So we could raise around the world a generation of children that know that they matter, that know that they make a difference, and all that goes with that, and that love is more important than money, and that their heart is more important than any money, and the good that they do to help others is more important than anything else they can have. Hopefully we'd be headed in the right direction.
Wow. Um, David, this is so wise, and I love it. I love it because this is what we need. We need more love, and this is what I'm trying to do in my podcast, is sharing with experts and talking more about you know, good stuff on our planet Earth and good souls. And I would like to talk, I mean, about your happy Sunday morning.
Yes, I named it in my marketing career. Yeah, I own happysundaymorning.com. I bought happysundaymorning.com many years ago, used it for a while. Sunday morning's not like on any other morning. I know in America, it's often led with religious type shows, and it's often led with news shows, and it's also the first day of the week. And yeah, wouldn't it be nice to kick off a great vibe on Sunday morning, kick off the week with a positive spirit, a positive attitude. And by the way, a realness, a realness. When I talk to you, by the way, I don't like hearing my voice. My voice makes me sick. When I talk to you, I annoy myself. Because if I had to listen to an expert, I wouldn't want to listen to an expert. But I told you when we were speaking, goodness needs to speak up in this world.
Exactly.
Goodness is too polite. Goodness is too polite. Goodness is too quiet. And goodness needs to start speaking up. And I look forward. And
And rising our voice.
what I specifically told you is goodness needs to speak up in a unified voice to thwart that negativity. That's it. And whatever the message is, I had said that the message is learn. Goodness needs to speak up in a unified voice, and it might as well say something smart. Learn, spread the word. But I'm open to it being another message. But I know this: goodness needs to speak up in a unified voice. We got to thwart negativity.
I agree with that. I totally agree. And that's why I was looking for this podcast to share with you and share with people. And I'm sure that a lot of people will agree with that because people have enough of negative vibes, negative news, negative and restrictions, and less freedom. And as you mentioned, like this is the land of freedom. Okay, let's go back to the businessman and the bagels that you created. And so tell me more. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but I mean, this podcast is 100% about you. It's not about me. I'm just like playing guitar just to create a background, nice background for you.
Well, yes, my career currently, my business is marketing, and I'm 56 years old now. But the most popular thing I ever created is when I was 15 or 16 years old. I created what's known as the Everything Bagel, and yes, I did. Since I created it, there have been 3 or 4 people that also claim they created it too. Maybe sometime along the line they threw all the seeds on it, but you're looking at the gentleman who created the Everything Bagel. I was working in a bagel store for several years. One of my jobs was sweeping out the oven. Those were the well-done seeds that fell off the bagels during the course of the day. One day, instead of throwing them out like I always did, I swept them in a bin. I said to my boss, Charlie, make some bagels with these. We'll call it the Everything Bagel. And the Everything Bagel's been around ever since. If you think about it, and unfortunately, I don't know if it's fortunate or not, but being that I created it 40 years ago and have faced a lot of questions about it, so I've given it more thought. Somebody had to name it. And what I mean by that is onion bagels have onion seeds, sesame bagels have sesame seeds, salt bagels, salty seeds, poppy bagels, poppy seeds. Nobody had to name those bagels, but somebody had to name the Everything Bagel. They could have called it, and some people called it, according to Wikipedia, the mishmash bagel or the all on top bagel. I did not create the mishmash bagel. I did not create the all on top bagel, but I did create the Everything Bagel, and it's been around ever since. Now, what's a bit annoying for me is I actually created the Everything Bagel around 1979, 1980. As soon as internet domain names came out, I actually bought the name theeverythingbagel.com because I created it. It's just thing. I bought the domain name. And when I started my business, 516ads.com, I wrote the story of the Everything Bagel. It was a 2-paragraph story, the same one I just explained to you. And a reporter from the New Yorker magazine saw it, and he ended up doing a story on the Everything Bagel. With that, some other gentlemen, all of them multimillionaire businessmen, 3 of them. One of them would have been 8 years old, but 2 of them. One was on the same stage as Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not going to mention his name because I'm not here to call out anyone, even though he once called me out, and it was funny. I didn't get involved in his business. He got involved in mine. Because when they interviewed him one time, he goes, well, I don't give my life dedicating myself to claiming the Everything Bagel. Hey, buddy, you got involved in my story. The New Yorker wrote about me. I never heard of you. But they all claim to create it. What's funny is they never mentioned it for 40 years. They wrote about me in the New Yorker magazine in 2008. That's when I came up with the story. These gentlemen, both very, very far more successful businessmen than me, never once mentioned in their life that they created the everything bagel. I've mentioned it my whole life. They never mentioned it because they never thought they created it because they didn't create it. One of them actually said he didn't name it. All he said is that he did throw all the seeds on the bagel. He says, I give credit to Gussin for that. Well, he's out of the equation. And the other guy, I think he just, I think he enjoys getting spoken about. It's a very famous man. He owns a huge sporting company. I think he gets a kick out of being in the discussion about it. But and the reason that I care so much is that if I give my word to someone that I did something, I don't like it to be disputed. That means someone couldn't trust me. If I'm saying that I created the everything bagel and someone's disputing it, that means that maybe my words can't be trusted. And I don't care about much in this world. I've been poor my whole life. I've struggled my whole life. But when I say I created the everything bagel, it's because I did. So when others dispute it, it's a bit annoying for me.
That's amazing. This is an amazing story. David, what I like really is you like to create community and to unify people and to give also the voice for people. So how did you come up with this networking thing and like in New York and now you are online like through Zoom. So tell me
Well,
more about it.
uh, I always wanted to get into advertising and marketing. If you look back at my history at 15, yes, I created the everything bagel. That's branding. I didn't know it at the time. By the way, when I went home, I didn't tell my mom and dad I created the everything bagel. I didn't think I was creating anything. I said I'm going to play hockey. It just became popular. We didn't have some big meeting and let's create the next popular bagel. We created it and it became popular. I didn't think I created anything. But when you create the everything bagel, and first of all, when you create something popular, just from an ego standpoint, you want to do it again. It's fun to create something popular.
I
It's like
agree totally.
it's like writing a popular song.
Right.
So you want to repeat it. So at 15, I created the everything bagel. At 29 years old, 28, 29, my late 20s, I created Learn, Let's End All Racism Now, which was used in every New York City public school. All the kids participated in it. So I always wanted to get into advertising and I always wanted to get into marketing. But no, I was married at 22 years old and had a child at 23. First of all, nobody would have hired me. You needed a college degree to get hired. Second, at that time, and probably now too, the salaries were too low. You're 12.5, 14.5 to go work as a college grad. And I wasn't a college grad, so no one would have hired me. But I always wanted to get into marketing and I always wanted to get into advertising, but I couldn't. Sometimes in life, as far as the whole vibe of what we're talking about, people are very fortunate when they get to do what they're meant to do instead of what they're supposed to do. As a young dad, I need to raise my family. So I might have wanted to get a job in marketing, but I couldn't. So I had jobs. I ended up becoming partners with some family members. We opened up some dry cleaning stores and stuff like that. And I was just a partner in it. Worked 18 hours a day in the dry cleaning store, no exaggeration, for many years, cleaning the crap out of people's pants. While I was a part owner, I was cleaning the clothes and everything. But I always wanted to get into marketing and advertising. And then there came a time where I didn't have no choice. We were going to close the dry cleaning store down. And I said, I might as well go for it now. And I started 516ads.com and 631ads.com. And here in New York, I actually bought all the area codes. That actually goes similarly back to the Everything Bagel and Learn branding. If I started David Gussin marketing.com, that really just would have been a marketing company with my name on it. It wouldn't have stood out from the crowd. But I own 516ads.com, 631ads.com. And as a marketing expert, and I'm only speaking about America now, and that's because I have no right to speak about the rest of the world, people are comfortable with their area code. There's something about an area code that they remember. That's their town. That's their area. And the name 516ads.com. And those are the area codes in Nassau and Suffolk County, Long Island, where I live. I also own 212ads.com for like Manhattan, or 718ads.com for the outer boroughs. But the names are short, distinct, and just like the Everything Bagel, and just like Learn, branding. So the
Wow.
idea was to build a resource for the region, that because this could work anywhere. This could work in any area code in America. It was up to the people to come together and build their own resource. Tell the powers that be that have been overcharging for years, the news and by the way, all this has changed with the internet. Remember, I started this before Facebook ever got popular.
I know.
But the idea of a region coming together and tell all the people who've been overcharging for radio ads, overcharging for television ads, overcharging for print ads, we could do it ourselves. We're going to build our own resource. But our thing was going to be this. We were going to use our platforms to spread positive instead of negative. Now, you can't build a good newspaper. It sounds nice, but it wouldn't work. But if you could have the ability to help businesses get their name out there and give them a platform and charge everyone a fair price, that's where the money comes from. Then you could use your platforms to spread positive. So the idea is for a region, in this case, Long Island, we build our own resource. I use the term igniting business. I tell people advertising sucks. The idea of placing an ad and waiting for things to happen has almost always been a losing bet. But igniting business, use multiple tools, mix web with warmth, make yourself easy to remember, get out there and make things happen. When
Cool.
you and I first met, I told you I didn't take my SATs in high school because I didn't want to know how dumb I was. And in many ways, I feel that way to this very day. In fact, I might have a hang up sometimes of wanting to at least think that I'm smart, because in many ways, I never thought that I was. But the idea, so help people with their marketing in the many different ways that we can, and use our platforms to spread positive instead of negative. The reality is it's been successful. I've been able to make a nice living from it, but it never took off the way that I had wanted it to. Many people have been wonderful, so we've gotten great vibes, but it's been diluted with Facebook and social media. And the other thing that happened in this last year with the polarization of America with going on, it's been very disappointing to me. One of the domain names that I bought just for a joke, actually just to make a point, not a joke, just to make a point, is disagreebetter.com. It is so disappointing to me that people judge others' hearts and their morals just because they disagreed with them politically. I
Mm.
have no problem with what anyone thinks politically. Actually, think what you want politically. Not only do you have a right to, who's to tell you differently? We're all different. But to judge somebody's heart so strongly, so negatively, rip them apart just because they don't hate someone as much as you,
Mm.
I find that very distasteful. I'm very disappointed in it. And I'm not quite sure. I think it's going to take a long time for people to be marching together in unison again. It might even take a generation. And that goes back to if people feel cheated, they don't want to play. So
Mm.
unless America has an intervention and we allow people to speak their minds so they can speak from their hearts, because there's love on both sides. There's love from all sides.
Exactly. And in all
But
levels, I believe in that. There's good in all levels in our society, all over the world. David, thank you so much for your time. I will let you go because we can talk for hours, but we had like a compact interview or like compressed short interview with you. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. Would you like to add something before we
no,
end up?
I just want to thank you for having me. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know why you wanted me on your show, but I'm glad that you did, and it was an honor to be here. It was good therapy for me.
Thank you, David. And what we share, your insights, your journey, is also, giving off, like showing people that you can make it, you can do it, wherever, where you are, And whatever you like, family situation, your situation, whatever is going on outside, the inside is very important to reconnect. And as you mentioned something very nice, you say, I am love. I am love. This is very strong.
Well, you said, do I have any final words then? Who's ever listening, you can do it and you matter. You do matter. The
Yeah.
world needs you to be the best that you could be. And, go out there and do it.
Thank you, David. And I'm going to tell people that um, stay tuned because we are preparing something. We are
Yeah,
preparing something.
that's something.
David wrote amazing, amazing lyrics, and we're gonna soon produce something very nice, and you will hear about it. So I'm just like teasing people so they can follow us and listen to more insights. Thank you so much, David, and definitely
Thank you for having me, Gabriel. You share the same name as my daughter. Much love to you, my friend. Thank you for having me.
thank you so much.